glad Lamont let shut everybody up. Everybody ate crow. You know what I'm saying? It's some of them just didn't know. Just didn't know Lamont, but a lot of them knew it. But a lot of these Cavs fans don't know boxing. Criticize them.
I ain't gonna really think about that yet because I'm waiting until he finishes this fight with Roach. Roach is not just your average everyday opponent. Roach is a person who knows Tank, who's been around Tank his whole life. This is a different fight. You can't put Roach to the side like that. I'm sorry. Now, I'm not saying that he's gonna win the fight. I don't know that, but Roach cannot be this underrated like that. You gotta understand that Roach came from basic.
Tank Davis and Lamont Roach's rematch news conference quickly became heated, and the first jab wasn't from the boxers. It was Calvin Ford, the trainer. Davis's veteran coach got right to the issue without wasting any time. He contacted Roach in fear, saying that he had woken up something deadly in Davis and was now terrified of the repercussions. Ford's remarks went beyond mere hyperbole. You know you poked the bear, and now you're afraid of what's coming. You don't want that beast again, he continued, looking Roach Sr. square in the eyes.
The hardest punch I ever faced. No. And I ain't shitting on him or nothing like that. He can punch. But Jonathan Okendo, he's from Puerto Rico. Bro, he got bricks in his hands, bro. I gotta do that. He punch hard. I ain't gonna lie. He hard.
That was sufficient to get Lamont Roach Sr. became enraged. Y'all know what y'all said on that contract we signed right away. It was your side dragging things out hoping this would fade. He fired back, refusing to back down or attempt to laugh it off, claiming that Tank was the one who originally didn't want the rematch. Now you're here trying to act tough, please, remarked Roach Sr. After that, nothing ever settled down. Even when the microphones were switched off, the intensity of the room persisted, but now that the rematch is officially scheduled on August 16th in Las Vegas, all the clamor will finally meet the ring. And no one wants March 1st to happen again this time.
The rematches that you fought?
0.
What do you have to do to create enough separation where this don't happen again?
Whew, it's a good question. It's going to be based on my training camp. I have to push myself a little harder. If that didn't give me the win, and I have room. I definitely have room. I'm not going to lie, I have room.
You believe you fought the best Gervonta, or do you think he got some more gears?
100% full fact. I think he might have some more gears, but I fought the best Gervonta that night.
Nearly everyone who saw Gervonta Davis risk his WBA lightweight championship was left with a bad taste when the battle ended in a majority draw. Rather than winning handily, Davis found himself in the midst of one of the most talked about events in boxing this year. In the 9th round, Davis abruptly went to the ground. He said that it wasn't a punch, but rather that his eyes were blinded by the intense heat from the oil in his braids. It was critical, but the referees didn't consider it a knockdown. Davis retained his title when the judges declared the bout a draw.
I just so happen to be a boxing fan that the fact that I do watch him fight, you know what I'm saying? Like, I really like boxing.
Are you open to immediate rematch?
In my contract, immediate rematch was signed. I signed
Right.
for the immediate rematch when I signed for the first fight.
Right.
Just in case he lost or just in case it was a draw.
So when you got a rematch clause, how long we take?
It's up to the A side and when they want to fight. So I'm thinking it's going to be soon. I'm hoping it's going to be soon. Let's say that.
What is soon to you? When you say soon to me, I'm thinking a month.
I'm thinking July.
I'm thinking July for sure.
Tank's movements have changed after the rematch. When he just shared a fresh shot, followers spotted something right away. Not wearing braids, the hairdo that generated so much debate has been discontinued. That one alteration ignited social internet. Shortcut Tank back Roach asleep, said one admirer. No braids, another person remarked. Tank is back, and Roach is having problems. The fans of Davis share the belief that the next Tank will be hard and focused, but the opposite side of the narrative isn't stagnating. The tie has not been seen by Roach as a moral triumph. Since the bell rung on March 1st, he has been vocally demanding this second shot. He even called Davis afraid on social media, saying that the rematch contract had been signed on his side weeks before and that they were only waiting for Davis to arrive. Now that Davis has arrived, additional opinions are being expressed. Terrence, one of the greatest in the sport, Crawford, shared his thoughts on the clash and didn't hold anything back. He believes Davis will be much better this time around, but he didn't think Roach could get much better. I think you're going to get a better Tank, but at the same time I think Roach fought at his peak, Crawford stated on Ring Champs with AK. Crawford said, I don't think he can fight better than that. He continued by explaining that Tank's primary issue during the first bout was his reluctance, since he was only delivering 1 or 2 blows at a time. He must release his hands. That's a significant change in perspective because, while not everyone agrees with Crawford, letting go may be sufficient to make the rematch one-sided if Davis actually held back the previous time and still managed to draw. Another world champion, Clarissa Shields, adopted the opposing position. She urged Roach to do even better in the rematch in an interview with Fight Hub TV. She brought up the fact that Davis continues to experience pressure outside of the ring, claiming that it has been influencing his performances. Tank has to overcome his phobia. Anger may sometimes help you in a battle, but you mustn't lose control. He finds it difficult to put all of his energy into the ring because he is so dissatisfied with other aspects of his life, she added. Shields even recommended that Davis think about going to therapy to improve his concentration.
Lamont Roach throwing his hands fast as hell. He's in the gym preparing. I think the rematch with Roach versus Gervonta can actually be more exciting than the first one. In my opinion, I've said this many times, the actual fight itself wasn't that crazy. The crazy thing is what you've never seen before, the knee. But as far as a boxing match, it was, if you look at the copy box, they didn't throw a lot of punches. It wasn't like, it wasn't really a great...
Her remarks go beyond mere conjecture. The fact that Davis took a knee during a brawl and then attributed it to hair grease demonstrates how unexpected life can be. In boxing, such type of preoccupation may be the difference between winning and losing, and Shield interprets it as an indication of instability. Next on the list of potential winners is Shakur Stevenson. In a recent interview, Stevenson issued his own caution, stating that he does not consider this fight as a certain recovery for Davis and that the rematch may be much more difficult.
Which version he shows up with, and no disrespect to Roach, but you know what I mean.
No, that is disrespectful to Roach, and like y'all fight fans gotta realize that is disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? Like, he in there fighting another grown man that ain't going for none of that shit. You know what I'm saying? And you don't think Roach is gonna come with another game plan or something better or this, that, and third? So when they had a rematch, are y'all still gonna say, oh, Take's still not his full self ever since he fought whatever? You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, like.
Lamont Roach has spent his whole life anticipating this chance. Stevenson claimed to have discussed sparring with Roach and his serious approach to the task. Since I knew he wouldn't get a decision, I placed a wager on the first bout to reach the distance. Stevenson added, this isn't just a typical rematch, he said. Davis has to do better than he did on his finest night. He can't simply give it his all. It will be a really tough battle, and he must be better than he was the previous time.
Because I think that the next fight is going to be a whole lot better. And I think the next fight is going to end with somebody being on the canvas, in my opinion. But I think that Lamont Roach, I want to give a shout out to Lamont Roach for, putting up such a, amazing performance. We never seen anyone stand there toe-to-toe with Gervonta.
What's at risk is that these days, credibility, honor, and the future are more important than a belt. This kind of rematch, particularly with so much drama around it, puts pressure on both competitors to go beyond strategy and into something more intimate. Although Ford's warning shot at the press conference may have seemed to be typical pre-fight hype, it is evident that the hostility is genuine. The trainers think that their careers might be redefined by this rematch. Roach knows he got fortunate with a tie, and Davis's squad is confident of it. Tank initially had no desire to be present. The argument that this isn't simply a boxing contest, but also a battle of mental toughness, personal pressure, and unresolved business is being fueled by the back and forth over contracts, public taunts, and now Davis's change in look.
How you think coming up with Tank?
I hope he don't fight Lamont, actually. Like, I hope he don't get in the ring with him again. Because at the end of the day, if he lose, it's just going to look bad on the fight with me, so. It's going to look like somebody else already did it. I want
You want Tank to knock you out, yo. I heard him say, like, yo, what a fight Tank, and that's nice, but why do you want Tank to knock you out so bad? Like,
look, that sound good. That sound real good, but she's too little.
Too little.
I promise.
Expectations are quite high after hearing all of the criticism from people like Crawford and Shields and Davis altering his appearance to regain a more focused attitude. Roach, however, is entering the battle as the guy who many think was cheated out of a victory that would have defined his career due to subpar refereeing. Everyone watching is aware that this fight won't end amicably and that both fighters have everything to prove. Now that Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach's rematch has been confirmed for August, the boxing world is talking about it everywhere. Promoters, legends, commentators, and fighters are all joining in, and nobody is holding back.
Like I said, Tank is a different animal than people even begin to realize in the boxing world, man. He's on a level of his own, in my opinion. I think this isn't even going to be close.
All right, Mike, what do you think about that?
I think it was needed, but on the opposite way, though, I think it's more so for Roach, in my opinion. That he proved his point. Honestly, Tank met his match, in my opinion. And Roach honestly should have won that fight. Like, that's my personal opinion. He really should have won. It shouldn't have been no draw.
The question of whether Roach can improve or if Davis will turn around is no longer the only one. It is now a momentous occasion that has the potential to change the balance of power in the lightweight division and pave the way for even more thrilling contests. Known for his straightforward analysis, Eddie Hearn provided a brief but insightful prediction for the rematch. It won't be simple. Those 4 words are more significant than they first appear to be. Hearn, who has been on the ringside for some of the biggest boxing moments, isn't typically this cautious in his forecasts.
Now, he's trying to please the fans possibly and take this fight versus Lamont Roach in a rematch. You know, is it even worth it to please the fans who want to love you 1 minute, hate you the next? They're going to love him this minute, they're going to hate him next. Next minute, oh, I don't like it. He can fight Lamont Roach, and they're going to say, well, he's supposed to knock Lamont out if he does win. You know, or if he loses to Lamont, they're going to say, oh, we knew Lamont was better. It's just always is a never-ending story in regards to boxing. You can't just please the people.
In the Fight Hub TV interview, his tone alluded to something more profound. An understanding that the rematch is more complex in terms of pressure and expectations. In addition to being more prominent in terms of attention, according to Hearn, Davis is currently dealing with a different kind of criticism, not only from Roach but also from the general public, his own doubts, and critics. The connotation is obvious. This kind of comeback narrative is different. This has to do with staying alive at the top.
Should have lost the fight. I mean, he should have had a point deducted. There's no doubt about that. But 2, people criticise the Roach fight. I knew it would be a good fight because we know Roach is a good fighter, but people in boxing know that Roach is a good fighter. Now it's giving him another fight. Because if he would have beaten Roach, he's kind of backed in a corner to fight Shakur Stevenson, I think. But now he's got a rematch that's actually much bigger than the first fight. So, yeah, I think he'll be more switched on for this maybe, but Roach is a good fighter. It won't be.
Roy Jones Jr. adopted an alternative perspective. He is fully committed to Roach shocking everyone once more. However, the intriguing twist is that he still believes Tank will prevail. This is not a contradiction in Jones' opinion. It indicates how fiercely the rematch will be contested. He thinks Roach will do everything correctly once more. Come sharp, focused, and hungry, but this time Tank comes with something different, not merely greater conditioning or a more thought-out approach, but a shift in mentality. Jones underlined that Davis's personality and drive will be the decisive element, and if it flips into the appropriate gear, supremacy will follow, but his warning is subtle. Roach is no fluke. The threat is still there. Davis will need to tackle it head-on or risk getting outboxed again.
And that, like, you know what I'm saying, that kind of landed. He kind of rolled with it, but after that, you can see him wipe his eye. And then, right after I hit him with the jab, you can see him wipe his other eye. So it's like, it was corresponding to which hand that I punched him with and exactly which eye. So it's like crazy for him to say, it's grease in my eye. And I think even when he say that, you could see me, because I'm right beside him, you can see me like, nigga, what you talking about? So,
right. But you say you don't think he will enough.
Whatever. See,
Joe Rogan, speaking on his podcast, offered one of the most brutally honest takes so far. Roach won that fight. He said, flatly cutting through all the justifications and post-fight narratives, he maintained that the draw was not only contentious, but also kind. Rogan's viewpoint on aging and mental acuity is what makes his opinion significant in this case. He linked Davis's difficulties to a more general downturn that many professional boxers ultimately experience. Not all champions remain champions indefinitely. Additionally, it seemed like a warning bell when Rogan said that sometimes the greats just quit being who they were. For Davis, the rematch isn't only about winning, it's about demonstrating he hasn't reached that wall yet.
Now it's your time to go out there and just go ahead and do what you got to do with Lamont. Go do what you got to do. Man, knock him out, man. Go in there, be aggressive, man. Man, quit with your. I get you trying to read opponents, man, but man, give it your all and just go crazy, man. Just go crazy. Switch up the game plan on that one, because he know what you're trying to do. Switch it up. So, as far as retirement, Tank has already proved himself. He's already made the money he needed.
Tony Bello brought in another layer of concern: the mental distraction surrounding Davis. Bello praised Tank's talent, calling him one of the best thinkers in the ring, but that praise was mixed with frustration. Davis, in Bello's view, is harming himself by letting outside sounds into his thoughts, whether it's talk of retirement, legal concerns, or just the weight of expectations. Bello believes it's dragging him away from what makes him special, and although he still sees Tank as the favorite, he made it clear that Roach has every right to feel robbed, particularly since he was the fighter in a draw that many believed he deserved to win. It was Bello's way of saying Roach hasn't been given enough credit and that underestimating him again may be terrible.
Gervonta had a bad night. I look for a tough fight in the next fight, but I still see Gervonta winning. I think Gervonta will win in a little easier this time. But Roach is a heck of a fighter. He's going to give everybody a hard, anybody that fights is going to give a hard time. But I do think that Davis had an off night.
I spoke to Eddie Hearn and he said he wanted to make the Shakur Tank fight straight away. Obviously now Tank's going into the rematch. That won't happen yet, but when it does happen, Eddie's still adamant that could happen this year or straight after the...
Keshin Davis, meantime, hasn't spent any time in adding his name to the conversation. He clearly stated his goals in his interview with Fight Hype. He wants whomever wins next, but when he spoke about Roach, his tone was a little more urgent. It was evident that he regards Roach as the more beatable alternative and a battle that makes financial and sporting sense. His remarks were well considered, competitive enough to draw attention yet courteous enough to win the battle. If Tank prevails, the story will be about legacy and maintaining dominance. Keshin sees a chance to move up into the top division tier if Roach wins. In any case, he isn't hanging around.
That's something on the table. So people who think I'm taking this fight for money, that wasn't the thing. Because I actually had an offer that was higher than the Tank fight.
Oh, for real?
Yes. To defend my belt. So, for all the people who think I was, he doing it for a check. That's what I'm saying. I don't even want to shut people up.
Yeah. I mean,
that's
doing it for a check. We ain't doing it just for the check.
We ain't doing it just for the check. But trust me, because don't forget, this is business.
It's prize fighting. Yeah.
It's prize fighting for a reason. Absolutely.
Because of the increased attention, this rematch now affects more than simply the two competitors. With the lightweight scene, it is now a part of a larger chain reaction. Stevenson, Shakur, Davis, Keshin, Devin Haney, and others are all surrounding this battle, ready to swoop in depending on the result. A sloppy victory or another very narrow outcome won't resolve anything. It will just make the uproar louder. So the emphasis isn't just on Tank to win. It's also on him to seem dominating while doing it.
You go my honest opinion, I feel like me and Lamont Roach, stylistically, is the hottest fight in the weight division. Yeah. Lamont Roach stood right there with Gervonta, the hardest puncher in the division, right? Ooh. So put him up against me. I'm not going nowhere.
Y'all really gonna box, man.
We're gonna fight. I feel like stylistically, that's one of the best matchups in the division for sure.
It's gonna be a lot of rolling in that fight.
I'm gonna argue. I'm gonna argue.
It's gonna be high pace.
When I have my belief is my...
Additionally, it's important to note that Roach has mostly been quiet since the news. That quiet seems purposeful. He is no longer playing into the debate, urging pity, or playing back previous footage. He's locked in. His father and coach, among others, have made it apparent that they think they have already defeated Tank once. Now, it is just a matter of completing the task. If Roach really thinks so and fights like such, Davis will need to dive deeper than ever before.
I think it's phenomenal that they're running it back. And this is where somebody said, "Mate, you shouldn't have said that if you wanted Tank to be on the show." I think Tank was pump faking him the whole time. I think Tank knew the fight was coming in August. He was just not saying anything so Roach can go out there and party and live his life when he already had about 3 months now in training. I would not be surprised to think that Tank has been boxing and training.
From the outside looking in, this struggle is being presented as if it were a tug of war. Some view it as the beginning of the new generation's takeover, while others want to call it validation for Roach and atonement for Tank. Gervonta Davis and other boxers are already in the wings. However, regardless of the perspective, it is evident that this rematch has developed into something far more significant than anticipated. The draw sparked debate. The drama was created by the back and forth, and now the stakes are high. Even the media environment is changing in relation to it. Tank's every post-hairstyle alteration and public statement is now being scrutinized by everyone, from casual fans to elite experts. Fans saw his cutting the braids as a symbol of a mental reset as well as a shift in style. People are eager for the return of the brutal, concentrated Tank. The person who not only wins battles but also puts a stop to them. But there is also concern that maybe the diversions persist, and that perhaps Roach revealed more than anybody knew. This is the reason Eddie Hearn's 4 words are so crucial. It won't be simple. It's more than simply a forecast. It serves as a reminder that both combatants are facing a much more difficult situation than the one they encountered initially. Tank has to demonstrate to the world, and maybe even to himself, that he is still who he claims to be. This is no longer about scorecards. Everyone watching is aware that the answers won't be simple, and Roach must demonstrate that the first bout wasn't his ceiling, but rather his foundation. What do you think?